Faces that I don't know. I'm Susan Dixon, the current president of the Chinese Historical Society, and I want to welcome everybody. And so we always start each month by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. So I would volunteer to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Where is it? It's the flag.
The other side of the screen. Yeah.
It's the other side of the screen. It's actually there.
It's next to Jake.
Okay, everybody standing. Okay, hand over your heart. Face the flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, quite a few of us were at the fundraising dinner on Saturday. It was really a wonderful event. In fact, the follow-up probably is that we have asked them for a copy of their speech because we'd like to make an extra Gamsan journal. So we already have it from 3 of the honorees. It was a really good event. We used the funds from that event to pay our monthly bills, pay for taxes, pay for Laurel. So if you were unable to come, we're still accepting donations. Also, we'll just start with Bob Lee. He has several announcements about China Society.
China Society has several events this month. Some of them aren't actually related to us, but they're things that we support. The first one will be on Monday, May 6th. It's at Golden Dragon Restaurant. We're having Leeway from the Huntington Library. He's going to speak on the encyclopedia that he found in the Huntington Library that dates back to the Ming Dynasty, 15th century. And it's a pretty fascinating story. The Huntington has one copy of the 400 that are known. It should be a very good talk. If you're interested, I have some announcements here. The second thing that we're having, it's something that we support. PCC has a Chinese music class where they teach musical instruments, and twice a year they have sort of like a concert. And sometimes when you say, oh, it's a class at a junior college, you think, oh, these are all beginners. But actually, it's one of these classes where people continue and continue and continue to go. So it's quite a high level of accomplishment among the musicians. And in addition, they have 2 guest soloists. How many have been to one of these concerts? No. How many of you know Cynthia and her husband Han? They were the musicians who did the soundtrack for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and they're very good performers. So it's well worth going to. It's at PCC this Saturday at 8 p.m. They're asking $10 donation for regular admission. If you're a senior or a student, it's $5. It's well worth going to. The third thing that we're having is a trip to the Marciano Museum. Have any of you been there? Yeah, well, anyway, the Marciano Museum is a museum that was founded by the founders of Guess clothing empire. It is primarily modern art, and they have a very good exhibit. It's in a very interesting building. It's in the former Masonic Hall on Wilshire Boulevard. We're having 2 tours of the museum if we get 10 people per tour. And this includes a docent tour. And the docent tours have been very, very good. So it's also something that's well worth going to. We're having it on 3 o'clock on Friday, the 17th of May, and another one at 11 o'clock on Sunday, the 19th. So if any of you are interested, take one of these and let me know.
So Eugene,
Any other announcements?
yeah, there are other announcements. If you remember, there was something on your email that you were going to announce. Okay. So if you wanted to know all the Golden Spike Commemoration events, it's coming up in Utah, the 8th through 11th. So you could go and, because we're not doing it ourselves, we're just providing the information. So if you have friends and whatnot to go up there, but this coming Tuesday at the Chinese American Museum, they are having the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad lecture, and afterwards there will be a reception. So it's Tuesday the 7th from 6 to 9. So if you're interested on that one. Was there something else, Eugene?
Okay. There's a film screening tomorrow evening at the Pasadena Library called To Climb a Gold Mountain. It's the story of a number of women, Chinese American women in history, who have accomplished important things, and it's maybe includes folks in San Francisco, women in San Francisco, trying to think of names, the flyer, I'm trying to think of her name now, our aviatrix, come on, help me somebody.
Bessie Wong?
No, the aviatrix, Chen.
Catherine
Chen, okay, yeah. And a number of others, including some who we've heard about in past meetings. Margaret Chung, the first Chinese American woman doctor, and a number of other pioneers in history. So, and Judy Chu would talk about some of her ancestors. She's actually part of the film. So it's screening at the Pasadena Main Library tomorrow. Don't forget, too, if any of you are interested in going to Yosemite, please come see me or Helen about reservations at Yosemite at the park. We hope to have a nice turnout. We have some tours, hikes lined up, in addition to some informative visits like to the historic Chinese Laundry building. It's something that we didn't really know about in some of our early treks, and then suddenly at one of our last visits, we suddenly, we said, oh, how come we never heard about this before? We saw this storage building. It was used to store the wagons and other gear, and the park interpretive specialist told us, oh, this was the Chinese Laundry. So now the Yosemite has applied for funds, grant funding, to restore the building and really make it a true interpretive center to discuss the multi-ethnic labor history of Yosemite National Park. So that's something to look forward to on this time, because now we're hearing a little bit more about what's in the plans for that restoration. Anything else? Okay, so I don't know whether this is working yet or not. And so, yeah, but one of the challenges always is that technology is constantly improving and changing, and Now, have you experienced whether you're working on a file in Word or Excel and you find out that, oh, I have my old computer, it's working on the wrong version, and so, you know, Excel 93 doesn't work on, you know, current, well, I have some old computers, so, anyway.
I did forget.
Okay. Okay, so, anyway, we're hoping to, so what we'll do, Lauren, is if the house speakers don't plug in, you can just quickly unplug and then pop in the portable, so you don't think it's working. Anyway, one more announcement.
No, it's not just one more announcement. I forgot that today is the day that we have to go through the slate. And we have to open the slate, we just have to open the floor to other nominations other than what's provided. I can't do the first one because I'm the slate, I'm president, so Eugene, you want to open the floor to see?
Okay, well, so let's first announce the slate of officers that are proposed by the nominations committee, and that is essentially we're returning all of the top officers. Well, I'm also an officer.
We're returning all of the general board of directors. The officers have changed. Some of them have changed.
Right. Okay. So the nomination actually is for. Well, help me out, Susan. So we're looking at returning board members. I mean, not board members
At large.
at large. Correct.
They're all. We don't have to vote on them
We do not have to.
because this is the second year of their term.
Okay.
Only the officers. We're opening up for nominations from the floor.
Okay. So basically, we have 2 open seats though. For member at large for a 2-year term. So are there any nominations or any volunteers? Or maybe we'll just appoint you.
If we don't have enough, it is up to the president to appoint.
Correct. So, anything else then, Susan?
No. Let's
Do I just
start
announce-
with
well, why don't we-
number 2. Okay, this is how it's done. Okay, the slate, Linda Benz is moving up to vice president. I'd like to open the floor to any other nominations for vice president? Do I hear any nominations for vice president? Do I hear a motion that,
I make a motion the nomination be closed.
yeah, you have to go through each one for vice president. Okay, for secretary, Felicia, who is here tonight, wave. And she is moving up to secretary. Are there any other nominations for secretary? If not, do I hear a motion that we close the nomination for secretary?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? For treasurer, Teresa Chung is continuing. Do I have any other nominations for treasurer? Do I hear a motion that the nomination for treasurer close?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, VP programs, Gordon Hom is volunteered to remain VP programs. Do I hear any nomination for someone else to be VP programs? If not, do I hear a motion for the nominations to close?
So moved.
And second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Jean Moy has agreed to be membership secretary again. Do I hear any other motion? A motion for anyone else? A nomination to be membership secretary? If not, do I hear a motion that close?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Aye. You have to do it for president.
Okay, and so for the office of president, we have Susan Dixon returning. Any nominations from the floor? Okay, and is there a motion to close?
So moved.
Okay, moved, seconded, and all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so all the officers that have been nominated are listed and shall be,
And since they are unopposed, do we hear a motion that we accept these as by acclamation?
So moved.
Second. No, if it's already, if there aren't any other nominations.
there's no opposition,
There's
no
opposition.
nominations.
There, it doesn't matter.
Congratulations. And so I asked for nominations for the open seats for members at large. I didn't hear any, so we'll keep that open. And so now, we'll just go right into our program. We have some new young speakers here to share with us some experiences, some knowledge, and some history that I think you'll really enjoy. Actually, Lauren Kirate came to me and approached us, and she said she had something to share. You know, she had done a film, and I thought, okay, well, that sounds good. And I watched it, and I looked at it, and I thought, oh, this is really worthwhile. It's worth sharing. Then I realized that it was really part of a larger program of student work, and so I thought, why not? And since the film is a relatively short film, I thought, why not provide an opportunity for all of her colleagues at USC to share their work and why they started, why they were there in China, and to give us some insight into some of the themes that are resonating in the community in China and among the Asian American community today. So, Lauren, would you come up and step up and provide some commentary and give us a little bit of background? I know that the newsletter did provide some a little bit of worthwhile to explain how the story you shared with me, of how you even started on your project, calling up your mom and while in China, and then it all went from there. So.
Hi, I'm Lauren.
Yeah, sorry.
And
Close, it has to be close.
well, I just wanted to say on behalf of Santiago, Christina, and I, we're really thankful that you're all here today to watch our films. We're USC students, and we joined. Yeah, let's go Trojan. And we took a class called the Global Exchange Program, and it's been running at USC for about 13 years. Every summer, the students at USC will either go to Beijing, about 8 of us, or 8 will come from the Communications of China. Communications University of China to USC. So we were lucky enough to go to China last summer and each of us made a documentary with a partner in China at the school. And they're all very different, but I guess the way that we'll go about this is, do you want to do like an intro to yours?
Is it mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to have Christina come up and she's going to say a little intro about hers, and then we'll show it, and then maybe have questions afterwards.
Yeah. Awesome. Hello, I'm Christina. I'm just gonna speak.
Oh, we gotta speak. Okay. So I'm Christina, and I directed or made the first film. It's about an American immigrant actually who went to China, and he learned. I'm gonna say this wrong. Shangsheng. I'm Korean, so I can't say it right. Shangsheng. It's a traditional Chinese comedy, and he learned this, and he uses improv and stand-up comedy to bridge cultures. So I hope you guys enjoy, and love to hear what you guys think. And the sound is going to come from these two speakers in the middle, so I hope they work very well. Thank you.
如果我的优点是在当外国人，我已经 就够了，我不用学习，我不用提高，因为其实我应该退步。
唱着来着，唱着来着，唱着来着，唱，举不练呐！哎呀，俺要人呐！
我特别喜欢他，所以让我们以热烈的掌声欢迎今天唯一一个开场的嘉宾艾杰西。
There we go, here we go. 非常感谢认识大家，我是大家最喜欢的果盘艾杰西啊。
他们中国人要发现我是中国脱口秀演员，都特别好奇。他说：“你在中国是中国脱口秀，你家人知道吗？”知道你家人有什么想法？我也不知道，我没有问过我爸。我上次就回家，我也问了我爸，我说爸，你对我说中文的脱口秀你有什么想法？然后我爸给我回了一句，他说 Speak English。这最难的是观众的了解不是错的，不是错的，就是外国人能用中文说脱口秀，应该是这场最奇怪的事情。所以我自己认为最有趣的和观众认为最有趣的不一样，不是因为观众有问题，在这个世界，在这个时代，现在会有这种感觉。我一直在找办法怎么解决这个问题的，现在到现在还没有，不能说完全找到。I came to Beijing to study abroad, and while I was here, I discovered the comedy scene. I thought the comedy scene was really cool, and I had a lot of questions about how comedy crosses cultures.
我本人我先做一个介绍。我叫艾杰西这是从小就喜欢喜剧表演。我到了中国就发现了，其实中国也有当地的一些喜剧表演形式。中国人也爱笑，中国人也有还有中国的当地的形式，这就是中国的相声。对，就看到了相声，跟丁老师学了几年，就发现了真的非常棒。我这儿做出了一个决定，我要把中国的相声传播到全世界。
And I would see these scenes that were like totally Chinese, but like the exact same scene as in America. So like you would see somebody would come in and they need life advice, and they see like the Buddha or like Guan Yin or something like that, and they'll ask the Buddha for life advice questions, and they get awful life advice, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
I've seen the same scene in America with Jesus on the cross. It's like all the details are different, all the words are different, all the jokes are different. The reason the comedy works is exactly the same. So I was thinking, how am I going to go and do Chinese comedy? And so I thought of applying for the Fulbright grant. And then when I was lucky enough to get the Fulbright grant, and then spent the 14 months here studying xiangsheng with my master. I could do the bilingual improv, the Chinese improv, the Chinese stand-up. So it's called a da gua, which means a robe. Just means robe. That's all it means. And you would wear these for a traditional xiangsheng show because xiangsheng originated as a street art in the late Qing dynasty. And at the time, if you were a street performer, you would wear this sort of thing. And then the tradition continued, and it eventually came off of the streets and went into tea houses because it got so popular that it was able to draw crowds. And it was also accepted by the literati of the time, so it was kind of a mix of high art and low art. But the robe kind of stuck with it. And so when you perform, you roll up the top of the sleeve. Here's my sleeves. You roll up the top of the sleeve and not the bottom of the sleeve, because in a show, if you were a street performer in the Qing dynasty, you would, if somebody wants to give you money, you could be like, oh, performing, oh, thank you so much for the money, put it in the sleeve and then continue performing without having to kind of break your stride. There is actually a pocket in here though, so I can put a cell phone or something right there. Yeah, so that's kind of the room and how that works. And so some people have different colors or whatever. I like this one because it kind of works with everything. It makes me sometimes think of me a little fat. I think I was a little bit skinnier when I bought this thing.
叫做来发哦，来发，哎，不叫来发，对，知道。所以呢，你要是写上讲谱呢，就是26。
Generally, we would have 2 people at a time go up in front of the rest of the students and disciples. They would do their bit. And then Master Ding would do this thing where he would ask the least experienced person in the room to start giving notes. And what this did was, if you were the least experienced person in the room, you could never relax because you knew that you had to start analyzing immediately from your first day there. So that created a thing where even the newest people took responsibility for their own improvement. And then it also created a situation where the most experienced people had to listen to the newest people and take them seriously. So it bonded the group together because you didn't have the situation where like, oh, that's my big brother, he's been doing it for 10 years, I'm scared to even talk to him because I have to critique him on my first day.
If I'm in a 2-person scene, we do half the talking. If I'm in a 3-person scene, I do a third of the talking.
其实这个数学一般就是2个人演的话，就是讲50%，3个人30%，4个人80%。
Things that are unusual deserve attention. Like
奇怪的事情需要更多的注意。
Like a deer hospital or ice cream killing a deer. You can have a lot of deer.
也可能是很多路，就是不管是用冰淇淋
If he hadn't been teaching foreigners, I would not have gotten the Fulbright. They would not have let me do improv in China. I would not have learned what I learned because I wouldn't have learned the traditional stuff. I wouldn't have had such a good teacher. I would not have met the other foreigners who are interested in learning this comedy and who are a great group of people, and the other Chinese people who studied with them and understood how to study with foreigners. I would not have learned what that healthy cross-cultural environment actually looked like because it almost doesn't exist in China. Like there aren't really many environments where foreigners work with Chinese people in Chinese and it's natural. Usually it's forced somehow. There was something about the way he did his whole work that made that happen. And as a social purpose, that's like exactly what my life is about. It's a special type of relationship. Like I've never had another relationship like that because the nature of having the master's really like the father. Like he was like my dad here. If I found myself in jail and I get one phone call, I call him. Like even beyond comedy, just I have like life problems. Like you can call him. But just knowing that you have that person makes everything easier.
你要是晚上回来晚的时候，这门小声一点，关的时候，声音大的时候，你回来晚上就影响人家啊，好吧？哎。
中国对外国人非常客气。对对。客气的好是，你第一天在已经有一个欢迎的感觉，但是客气和友谊不一样。如果我是一个客人，我永远和那个主人会有那个距离。
This is actually something that happened 3 days ago. I was driving my electric bike, and this guy was on his electric bike in front of me, but he was playing on his phone, and he was blocking the bike lane. So in China, because I've lived here for a long time, and I was like, well, let me do what they do. I beat the horn 3 times and yelled like, hey, like go, call BR, like go to the side. This Chinese girl was right next to me, saw me just blare on the horn and yell right at this guy in the face, and she got off of her bike and she's like, in English, she's like, no, you can't do that here. Do you know where you are? In English. I'm like, oh, 什么意思？我会说中文. She's like, I don't care. You are in China. You cannot do that to Chinese people. This is very rude. And I was like, I didn't know what to do because she's right, but the only reason I did it is because that's what people do here. And I felt really upset about it, and I was trying to figure out why I felt upset. And at the end of the day, I realized it was like, she should have been mad. She should have been mad because I was rude. She should not have been mad because I was a foreigner. My current visa is for 10 years, but I have 60-day stays. So I have to leave the country every 60 days. Technically, to perform in China, I need an entertainer's visa, but they give out like only a couple of those a year. So that's a no-go for doing anything that's like truly creative in terms of what I'm trying to do. The visas keep switching, and there's no one visa that fits perfectly. And I'd love nothing more than to be on the right visa. I could still do all that stuff and get the work visa, and then if the industry that I work in becomes an industry they don't want people working in, my work visa doesn't get renewed. So 这个中国人对接受外国人在前期和中期是非常客气，外国人是非常舒服。到了能说中文的时候，到了能交流的时候，要做出作品的时候，中国观众从来没有跟外国人有那种关系。我飞机落地以后，我还得过那个移民检查，然后这个检察员，我虽然是国民，他都得问所有的人一系列的问题，就发现他们是从哪儿来的，在美国做什么，特别嫌疑，你说什么回答他们都不信。然后我那个时候那个人拿了我那个手机那个护照，他看那个护照，他给我说了一句，他说 Where are you coming from? I'm like, oh, I'm coming from China. What do you do there? Oh, I'm a Chinese stand-up comedian. Tell me a Chinese joke. 我不知道我该怎么说，我这脑子卡了，我说一个中国段子，我差那么差的段子啊！但是后面有一个华裔排队，他听到了我的段子，他就立刻就，这哥们儿牛逼！ Shit. Guess you are. Go. 是谁呢？大家也给我们叫好哦，喜欢听，大家都给我们说 Whoa! Yeah! That's making up! That's making up! Well, he had lung cancer, and we knew he had lung cancer, and he had gone in for surgery in the past, and he had there's chemotherapy, and he had surgery on his lungs and stuff like that. But he was always very private about that. Like he felt it was like his role to not have his students worry about that. And so he would always be very evasive when we asked specific information or anything like that. I was in Shanghai from September to January doing a show, and then 2 days before the show ended, he passed away. And it was like the first time of being home, but like not having the master around. So it was really hard. It was it's still hard.
欢迎大家光临法土地区文化中心，观看纪念相声大师丁广泉先生的专场演出。让我们共同缅怀我们的中国爸爸。
唱个来个唱个来个唱个来个唱，举国脸呐！哎，我有人呐。
Having somebody that really cared about you and not just your professional development, but also somebody who just cared about you outside of that. It's not something most immigrants get. The human connection thing, just coming and from the first day having that relationship was really important.
又是到底，这叫岁不重，二不圆，一不知为矣。慢点。一头牛，这牛也不听话，不打这个牛，他也不骂这个牛，他只是用手拧这个牛，所以这叫扭扭红牛，扭你扭扭你牛。你我干什么呀？知道的东西，但是跟丁老师的时间长了，确实学了不少，所以我们要今天再次非常感谢他，非常感谢。
再次感谢各位的到来。 再见。
Me from the beginning. Like, also, it was really helpful for just how I speak Chinese.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah, especially learning it at that age, I'm sure it stuck with you a lot. Like, 好吧。
Yeah. I think we'll take questions at the end, you know.
At the very end?
We'll present, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think each one can do the introduction.
Okay.
So my name is Santiago. I was part of the group that last week went to China, and we made this short documentary. There's really not much to introduce, but I'll be glad to take questions afterwards. It was just a really fun experience because bear in mind, why are you filming? No, because it was fun because our characters, as opposed to the one you just saw, they did not speak English. They're Chinese, very lovely Chinese family in Beijing. So my partner was a Chinese student at that film school in Beijing. She was talking to them, and I was filming it. But I'm there for hours and hours, and I have no idea what's going on and what people are saying. So it was just a really fun dynamic. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
一张。这是个传统的那个秦朝的本儿。就是家里学的那些东西呢，从画上摘下来的。
您觉得奶奶对你最大的影响是什么？
最大的影响就是对人友善，聊得来，说得来，这就是胡同里的这个人的一种和谐。 得是跟他聊呗。
哎呦，这是谁呀？哎呦，好见喽！哎呀，哎呀，好，干嘛去了？您这是？哦，行，那先走了，阿姨。哎，好，阿姨再见。好嘞。
这就精心，这就精心。写毛笔字儿吧，好像心里头，你就不像别的时候画了这个，你这笔要停住呢，它不就不行了吗？是不是？你就你这心翼翼的在这儿待着。
有功的还是和善吧，买个菜呀，早起呀晚上都打招呼，出去了您呐，回来了您呐，一般就这个吧，还有什么？还有吃了没有？吃了吗？您呢？没吃，回家吃去吧。区别，这儿没有防盗门，防盗门少。那儿的区别就是防盗门关上谁都不认识，住很多年的邻居都不认识，因为那个环境不是跟那个跟美国似的，出门我就背死人家腰里别着那什么的那种感觉，还是没那个东西，比较好一点。
不错，你的那个英雄好汉会。
这样，再把这里搁一个这个，还有一个这个。待会儿别跟我说你这拔不出来了。不行吧？脏啦！
工作就是一种说不出来那种东西。我工作经历可多了，想象不到的那种感觉。现在不工作了吗？
那你也不工作，那孩子咋办呀？
这个就无聊了吧？
无忧无虑的，到现在他爸爸死了2年了，我没看我领工资那卡过，就一直给他。
但是您没有试图让他做些什么工作来赚钱吗？
他后来弄这俩孩子，你怎么弄啊？
我们一同事呢，还有3名美国。
小心啊，我们可过去了啊，这样够是不是？
让老师给你讲讲这字儿，完全看不懂。
哪有李老师看不懂的？李老师能看前500年、后500年，非遗
看不懂。我这就是国家
中国国粹，这个是篆书，先秦的。
对。
后来呢，这个传了现在好几千年了，优秀传统文化。
我们俩的工资，我们俩退休的工资都是这几个人花，你知道吗？老头4000多，我现在也4000，我的4000，收入来源咱别的他们姐儿现在是他刚有，那个是一直的最低生活费。因为他们有病，有残疾证，他没有工作，他工厂倒闭了，工厂这边倒闭一样，就是都回家了。他原来有13年工龄，他回来的，他就是发高烧啊，中毒性的痢疾就发高烧。
年轻的时候得了一个中毒性痢疾。
还没上学呢，那他得的，还没上学呢，要不他怎么老一直的有人管着呢？ 他看着挺好的吧，他什么有点那什么，有点事儿吧，就得慢，看他慢。
上面写的是什么意思？
写的是国粹，就是一种有点像床前明月光啊，什么李白呀、杜甫啊。
那写的是什么？
就是对啊，一种诗啊，宋词啊，诗赋、歌赋啊，那这东西。我写的这创作这东西，你看也是一幅这个饶有情趣的一幅山水，一幅国画。虽然是文字，但是能看出那个文化的那种味道来，山水画的那种味道来。有点像什么敦煌啊，有点像莫高窟啊、岩画啊那种感觉。你没想拿出来卖，我是第一期，只展不卖，文化无价。
谁承认？我都承认。这能不吹了呀？就会了啊，是不是会了？
走。
啥子？来，干啥？啊！我会坏了。你把我那给拆了干啥呀？好玩呗。谁先动手呀？俺脑袋不好使。你觉得你们家里有什么矛盾吗？爸妈。你爸妈有矛盾？对。什么矛盾？他。不是我。他。什么矛盾？你不是单位掏钱请吃饭？啊？什么矛盾？我们两个不知道。啊？我们两个不知道。那你为什么说你爸妈？我平常看到他们两个就打架。打架呀？你们家庭有内部冲突一般是什么？就是分歧，主要是什么造成的？
吃什么喝什么用什么上学，也就这事儿。
就是您和您妻子之间的冲突还是？
你说的是妻子还是爱人？
爱人。
还是妻子？有时候可以当一个人是吧？我给他们练字的那种。
你得把腿收回来点儿，你不能踢那
坐我这儿来，坐你那儿，
哎呦，这我爷爷自己是坐。是吗？
那玩意儿你往前点啊！这晚上吃饱了回家啊！吃饱了回家，弄的啊！这黄瓜，那穿上那滋味。
很好吃的。
你要汤是吗？哎，那得帮忙回家洗去了。 不上那儿了，回家了，回家洗去，没关系啊。
饿。
你觉得今晚哪个菜最畅销？
我做那菜最畅销。
您做的是哪样的？
没做进去，就做着吃的。做饭好吃，不轻易露脸。
Okay. We want to take a quick break and maybe grab any more snacks or fill your coffee or tea. Yeah, let me just do it. Already, some of these have been very interesting, and if we can get started.
Lydia Lane is not here. She's working right now, so hello, camera. But her film is called The Gaze, and I guess all she really wanted me to say was that it was a really controversial topic, especially in China, and it was almost, I think she said something like, they weren't going to show it, right? It was like...
I think in the past they had done something similar, and those
in the past classes, they, like someone else wanted to make a film about gay people, I believe, and they didn't let them. So Lydia wasn't sure, Lydia and her partner weren't sure if they were able to make this, but they did it anyway. And they showed it. So that's all. Yeah, hope you enjoy it.
Oh, okay.
化妆手多吗？
很少花，去夜店的时候会花，逛街一般都不花，觉得化妆太伤皮肤了。我基本就打个底，然后画个眉毛就行了。套套。
I won't say whether he's also gay, but he's very funny, so make some noise for Long Hu, comedian in Eagles. Ni hao, bitches, how are we? So I am Long Hu, and yes, I am gay. If you can't tell, then
Size 46 shoes on Taobao. They have the biggest wow factor. This is the pair that I use at the moment. They're not my first ever pair, but these are the pair that I use at the moment.
Yeah, that's a technical term, guys. If you've got one of us, it's a gay. If you've got two, it's the gays. And if you've got three, it's a gay pride.
应该是这一块，然后她和她男朋友是从那边走过来，然后她拍了我一下，对我笑了一下，我觉得很可爱，就顿时对她产生了好感。对，那时候仅仅是朋友的关系。
根本就没他加他微信啊什么的。看到他了，感觉第一眼就觉得挺喜欢他的，对。然后因为她当时是有男朋友的嘛，她打算跟当时她那个男朋友分手，所以我想就觉得我的机会来了，然后我就跟她表白了嘛。当时是4月1号，然后是愚人节，然后她以为我在开玩笑，但是我说没有啊，我是认真的。然后她说真的吗？然后她说那我也她说她也其实挺喜欢我的。然后我觉得那天超开心，所以4月1号是相当于我们的定情日吧。然后他的前任就不太愿意，然后当时就叫了一帮人晚上约我到湖边打架，然后我就来了。后来不知道怎么回事，他也知道，然后他也来了，然后我们就在那一边在那一头打起来了，打得挺厉害的，我眼睛都淤青了，然后他也替我挨了好几下，他背好像也淤青了。所以后来我们就相当于正式在一起了。
So, the story about how I met my fiancée. I'd broken up and I'd also come down with this horrible cold, so I basically went onto Grindr looking for some pity chat. Conversations normally start the same. Hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. Do you want to have sex? But I was rocking the boat. So this guy comes on, conversation starts the same, was just about to give up on it anyway, and it's like, oh, I'm feeling really ill, I've got a cold, and he's like, well, I know a bit of Chinese medicine. He's like, are you a Chinese doctor? And he's like, I've studied Chinese medicine. So of course I'm thinking that he's a Chinese doctor. I'm like, okay, right, fine. He says, do you want to come round and I'll make you a herbal tea? I was into herbology and sort of herbal medicine, so I thought, okay, let's give it a go. So I got in a taxi, went round to his place. He made me some sort of cold medicine tea. He was cooking something. I was like, what's that? He's like, oh, it's pig's intestines. And I was like, well, I suppose pig's intestines is the same as like the casing for a haggis or like a sausage. I mean, I'm sure I've eaten intestine before. I've never just eaten intestines. So it's like, well, do you mind if I try some? So we shared a dinner, a sort of like off-the-cuff dinner that hadn't been pre-planned. And that was it. We had some chat, we were talking, and it was good fun. And we decided to be friends.
但是他就是还没订婚前，其实已经跟父母出柜了，说不喜欢女生，就是把我的存在告诉他父母，想跟我在一起，但是他父母坚决不同意吧。他是一个很孝顺的孩子嘛，也挺话的，所以他只能接受，然后去相亲，然后相到一个还挺合适的吧，然后就打算结婚了。然后我知道这个事情之后，觉得很难受，我就想能不能争取一下，然后我就去他家了。他父母也没说过什么，然后我就求他父母说能不能让我们在一起，当时还跪下了，然后他父母就说你又不是我家人，关你什么事啊？当时我觉得挺就是无言以对的，觉得确实我也没什么有权利干涉他们的家务事。他们连夜就把我送到隔壁县城，然后开个房间，然后当时在酒店就是一个人嘛，越想越伤心，自己就坐到那个窗户旁边，打个电话就是跟我男朋友讲说能不能再过来见我一面，但是他父母不让他出来，然后就是相当于威胁他吧，然后就再不使坏我要跳下去了，然后他爸爸也来了，然后大家是把我从那个窗户上面拽下来嘛，当时他爸爸就好像是踹了我2脚吧，就是也不是殴打那种，就是替我父母感到不值，觉得为了一段感情结束生命，觉得那个太傻了，太对不起父母了。我想他肯定是以这种，他当时也这样跟我讲，他是以这种心态踹我的，就是恨铁不成钢那种的。但是我当时真的太伤心了，
you're a good boy. I know, you're so happy. You're always so happy. What's it? Loki, stop kissing your brother. Okay, back. Back. Okay, good boys. Okay, Loki, come here. Sit. Good boy. Thor. Shush, wait your turn. Head through the hole. Good boy. Good boy. Now don't wriggle out of it this tonight, okay? Good boy. When Gong came out, it was a completely different story. His mum said, "You're not gay." No. Then we tried a third time, and she said, "Maybe you should see a psychiatrist and find out who touched you as a child," which was pretty devastating to hear. So we decided this spring festival we would go as a couple, and we said, "Look, we're getting married. This is happening." She said, "Well, I understand you're in a relationship with a guy, fine, but I want you to get married to a woman because I want you to have grandchildren." And we explained, no, we want to have children, and we're ready to fight for children, whether it's through surrogacy, whether it's through adoption. And I think that was what clinched it, because when we explained that we still want to have children, she said, "Well, okay, but you're going to have to adopt pretty children, otherwise no one's going to believe they belong to you two." And it was when she said that, or like a couple of hours later when Gong translated that to me, I was like, "Oh my God, I wish she'd have told me that when she said it, because I'd have given her a hug." But yeah, it was just, it took a lot of effort, but when eventually she did sort of come through, and I do believe she's going to try to attend the wedding, which obviously is a big step as well.
因为我没上班嘛，对我生活所有开支都是他支付的。
你跟我以后没有高兴吗？
并没有，并没有，觉得问题更严重了，因为毕竟为了孩子还生活在一起嘛，觉得以后想，而且以前见面还是挺方便的，还没跟他妻子坦白之前见面还挺方便的，后来真的是很难见一面，现在1个月见不到1次，然后最近可能是两个多月没见了，对，最近好像他妻子又开始闹了吧，然后不让他出门了，然后我也挺生气的，我最近也有1个多月没跟我男朋友联系了。反正我觉得我在他心目中好像不是太重要的样子。他每天会给我发短信吧，前几天我还把他电话给解除黑名单，然后发现他还继续给我发，真的是挺难受的，觉得不知道什么时候才能见到他吧。
The original plan was to move to Thailand, buy some sort of hotel, set up a hotel, and then I could open up a scuba diving school. But the problem with that is that Thailand doesn't acknowledge gay marriage at all. Strangely enough, China, although we should be quite quiet, they don't advertise it. We do know some gay couples that have been able to acquire a spousal visa. So I call up the embassy and I say, right, we would like to book a wedding in a year's time for the 10th of August. They said, no, you can't book that far in advance. So I'm like, okay, we'd waited that sort of 10 months and they said, okay, we want to get married on the 10th. Okay, we're going to get married in the ambassador's residence because it's a larger area because we want more guests. And it's like, okay, yep, that's fine. Oh, the ambassador's residence isn't going to be open during August. Yeah. So there went plan A. Luckily we found out it will be open on the 2nd of August. So we managed to reschedule the date, panically on Facebook trying to call up relatives going, don't come on the 10th, come on the 2nd, it's now the 2nd, and having to arrange everything through that. So that was a bit of a stressful occasion.
我现在还没跟我父母出柜，觉得因为我现在又没办法跟我的男朋友在一起嘛。
他现在不跟你住在一起，然后也不在你的地方。他现在对你说话的事情是
精神伴侣吧，对。
我这个在网上这个填信息，把我的这个个人信息啊，还有我这个店面的信息啊、门头啊等等设计，然后去这个在网上进行一个填报，然后。
So I went to Beijing not really knowing what I wanted to do a documentary on, but I knew that my family lived there in the south of China, in Guangzhou, but I didn't really think about visiting them just because we've lost connection, and the only person in my family who really keeps connection with anybody in China is my aunt. My mom is pretty she just never really thought about connecting with them. And so you'll see in the documentary what I do, but I hope you enjoy this. I'm in Beijing for a summer class, and it's got me thinking about you. You've always told me what to do, but so little about who you are. I know you don't like talking on the phone, but I wish we could talk more. You've had so many opportunities to tell me about our extended family, but so little has been revealed. Can you help me understand?
It's been almost 100 years since my dad left. Will the people there still, will they know of him? Will they remember him? Is he relevant? Are we relevant?
I'm going to call Yi, since she's our family expert, and ask her where your parents are from. Maybe I could visit and meet our family there.
I'll say it in Cantonese.
Lao Yi. When I called her, she gave me really good news. We have family here. They're in Guangzhou, the south of China. We have a great aunt named Lao Yi.
Yes.
Lao
So I call her Yi. You would call her Yi Tai.
Oh, the girl with the pink phone in the reflection? That's my partner Phoebe. She's going to help me document this. And she's your dad's brother's wife? No, dad's brother's... How is she related to us?
My dad's cousin.
Oh. Yi just told me I could visit Gupa at the end of the week, and I should get her and her family a gift. And I hope I have enough. There might be more people than we know. Yeah. They're gonna let us carry this stuff?
So don't give it to her immediately.
Okay. Maybe when I'm leaving?
I mean, you could give the cookies first.
Yeah.
She'll probably do the worship thing with you first, and then go to the mausoleum. I will just give her an envelope and say thank you.
Okay. Let me show you really quick what I got her.
Oh, those look good.
Yes, they're special in Beijing. They're all different. So, I went to the bank and got the money. Like very nice hundreds.
Okay. Oh, very good job.
Okay, thank you, Yi.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zhuhai.
Where are we going?
It's hot and humid here. It's so different than San Francisco. The ocean. That's the same water your dad took a boat to America on. We're at the hotel now, and I'm too excited to relax. We're about to meet Gupa, and I'm going to see the house that my great-great-grandfather built. We have like an hour left to go, but I just want to be there already.
What's the difference between Guangdong and Canton?
It's the same. Canton may be a little bit like English.
Oh my god, the cookies. We forgot the cookies. Do you think he'll go back?
Can you do it? Like Santa tomorrow?
I can give it. Oh my god. I forgot the cookies. I was supposed to give it to her today.
那个您好，能方便回去一下吗？
啊？
回去一下了。
回不去了。
不是，你绕一下呗。
He's gonna go back.
你绕一下，你把表继续打着不行吗
Oh my gosh.
谢谢啊。
Okay, Claire, I'm gonna give you my phone to hold on to. Okay, let's go.
Did you meet her like before?
No, this is the first time. Yeah. Let's see, which one could it be? Oh, is this her? Oh, it is her. Aww. 谢谢. Oh, it's so hot. Let's go in. Okay. It's so hot. So
So Gupa showed me photos of her family and asked me if I knew any of them in San Francisco.
I don't think so. Oh, Uncle Martin?
I feel so embarrassed that I don't know them. Why haven't I met them before, Mama? It's really hot here. And I forgot all the questions I want to ask Gupa.
There used to be 3 families living there.
I'm really happy that we're finally here. I think that being in the home that my great-great-grandfather built gave me a sense of welcoming and love, and just being in a place that, even though I've never been there before, I just had this sense of I belong here.
Can I give her the cookies?
他想这是给你们的礼物。不用盖礼物，很重哎。Thank you, thank you. 不客气。不客气。Thank you.
When I gave her the cookies, she insisted that we sacrifice them to her ancestors.
This word represents this generation. So when you say you have this word and they know
You're that generation. So this is like a giant family tree kind of.
Yeah, family tree.
But there's 2 people, so this is just a few of them, maybe.
Just the male members.
Just the male members.
I think they're like something better.
This shrine was given to the Liu family from the government after the 5 loyal men gave their lives to the country.
And then?
can't stop admiring Gupa. She's so happy. When I met the family at the seafood restaurant, I gave them the cookies. They reminded me a lot of our family in San Francisco. My little cousin's name is Yo-Yo, but I called her Moi Moi, little sister. I wish I knew what they were saying. Are you in school? Grade 3? Moi Moi makes me realize that being a kid is so cool. Because you don't have to hide how you really feel, even at family gatherings. Dear Mama, I'm pretty exhausted from yesterday. I wonder how you would feel if you were here with me. Guess who sat next to me at dim sum? No, I can do two. Yes. Let me do it. She has the cash now. For you. Oh, so pretty.
Mình cứ phải hả chứ? Chúng ta lấy vào ra không phải, lấy vào ra không, phải nhá.
So my great-grandfather, my great-grandmother,
great-great-grandfather,
and my great-great-grandfather and great-great-grandmother. This is their son. Okay.
Can you see the photo?
Yeah.
The帅, very handsome.
Yes.
Kitty 問隨便嚟影下張吧。哦，快咯！嚟嚟嚟呢度。多謝多謝多謝多謝。聽日先買啦。咁啊，你盡興玩，叫佢哋盡興玩咯。咁晚玩到晏啲都唔緊要㗎，有車喺度啊嘛。有車咁玩到盡興咯。睇下啦，你哋行到邊度再決定點就點。Thank you for your permission.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beijing Capital International Airport.
What did you guys think about me going to visit your family in Zhongshan?
I was so excited. I couldn't wait to call my aunt. And I couldn't get through to her. Then I had to call my other aunt in Oakland to get her number. And she automatically called the auntie in China for me. Maybe you'll go back with Aaron and me next time.
Yeah. And Mama.
And Tom, you want to go?
Do you want to go, Mama?
Oh no, what happened? Hello?
You've made a connection between the past and the present. Now I have this family tree that I've drawn with the help of Yi. I see now how we're all connected. From our great aunt to all the cousins and aunts and uncles, I can now see how we're all connected.
Chairs here for you to sit in, but maybe we can stand. Maybe answer some questions. These films were just made as, you didn't plan ahead. This was all done in a very short period of time with your colleagues at the college in Beijing. So you got together, you met, and you just planned out a film right then and there. So maybe you could talk a little bit about some of the challenges of trying to do something in maybe a different environment. Here we know, oh, well, we go and rent a camera over here, or maybe we borrow this. You had somebody communicate with you. So maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the logistical challenges, as well as maybe some of the concerns or fears maybe you had, as you were going out into the city.
Yeah, should I just go first? Okay. So for us, it was, well, you'll speak about your experiences. For my partner and I, the thing was that we had not really a clue what we wanted to make a documentary about. I just got on a plane to China because I thought it would be very exciting, and it was. But I really didn't know what the documentary could be about, and even if you know, the question then it becomes, are you going to be able to make it about that? Are you going to have access to the people and the locations and all that? So we kind of ended up making it about whatever happened to be in front of our camera, because we were just exploring the city, the traditional Hutong neighborhoods in Beijing. And the old lady that you saw in our film just physically, literally grabbed my arm and pulled me inside her house, which was almost a scary moment. But yeah, she just wanted to feed me, which was very nice. And then, and yeah, I mean, we found them, not just myself, but also my partner who lives there. She also found them very interesting, and that's how I started. Challenges was different, definitely the language. Like I said, I had no idea most of the time what they were even talking about. So as a person filming it, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to point the camera at. Another challenge was and I think that happens to a lot of people making documentaries, is the question of what do you show in your film, and what do you make it about. And I had a little bit of a concern that the father of the family, is not making the best impression. But it was a truthful representation of him, though, I have to say. Yeah, I don't bore you too much.
Going into the hutong, which is a kind of a private space, really.
Yeah.
And now you're looking into everybody's doorways.
Exactly.
But the doors were all open, interesting.
Very much so, yeah. The doors were all open, and it even happened to me that that on a separate day when we were not filming, I was in another part of Beijing, completely other side of town, and I happened to walk into another hutong neighborhood, and I couldn't find my way out because I don't know if anybody has been there. Just the little roads and alleys, they get narrower and narrower, and I took, I guess, every wrong turn. I ended up in somebody's backyard. Somebody was taking a shower, and I made a U-turn right there, and I thought, follow the biggest street I can see. So yeah, and it is the people there were extremely welcoming. I'm not just referring to our subjects of our documentary, but also the entire neighborhood. They saw us. Oh, you're with them. You're doing this. Oh yeah, sure, come in. And everywhere we went in, I have to explain to people, no, thank you, I don't want to eat. I need to hold the camera. But they were really set on feeding me whenever the occasion arose.
Also, I think it's a historic preservation issue too in Beijing, because some of you who have been to Beijing, is full of high-rises, right? And a lot of these old neighborhoods are being destroyed to make way for new development. So maybe if people share with you the threat to their neighborhood and how they felt about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that was actually one of the issues we thought about making the documentary about. The problem was, though, that the people we talked about didn't want to talk about it. We found one couple that was very open about it and explained to us how they got kicked out of their old house. They lived in another hutong, and they were, transferred to this new hutong, which was one of those neighborhoods that apparently were going to be preserved, or at least for now. And so was the family we portrayed. They used to live somewhere else, but they did not want to talk about the past, about not even whether she liked it or not. So yeah, anything just vaguely political, she wouldn't go into. So yeah, we had to respect that, but we had a general idea of that. Yeah. If you want to.
Yeah, sure. So I think the biggest challenge was the language, and not just between me and everybody in China, but between me and my partner. Phoebe is, we spent a lot of time together. We went from city to city, we traveled together, we went to different hotel rooms, and her English got significantly better over the course of the 7 weeks. So she really learned a lot in terms of that. And I also learned a lot just how to communicate with someone who doesn't necessarily know how to speak good English, and how to make a film with them at that. And so that was very, very challenging. And not only did the students that we were partnered with, they were not just taking one class. Some of them were, I think. But Phoebe was taking 2 or 3 classes during the summer. so that was also challenging because she told me in the beginning that she didn't have time to do much for the film. And so I'm like, okay, well, if we choose people who, like, if we choose to make this documentary about someone that is speaking only Chinese, then I'm not going to be able to, like, communicate. I'm not going to be able to do anything, kind of like what Santiago experienced. He didn't know anything that they were saying. So in the editing room, our Chinese partner had to do all of the subtitles because we don't speak Chinese. So that was also like, I already knew going in, like, okay, well, if we do a film about people that are, you know, only speaking Chinese, I won't know how to edit it, and I won't know how to subtitle it. And I knew that she wasn't going to be able to help me with that. And so I guess I had like more of a producer mindset, and I was like, you know what? Let's just make a film with me in it and just make it a little bit easier so that I don't have to worry about about Phoebe, like, you know, doing most of the post work. So that was pretty much one of our biggest challenges.
Okay. I actually knew what I was gonna do. I had a feeling, I read an article somewhere about it was about improv in China, because inherently improv is not scripted. But in China, you have anything that's performed in front of a public audience, you have to submit for approval. So inherently, improv is actually illegal, censorship-wise. And so that really intrigued me until I found this guy, completely blank. Jesse, my subject, I spent 7 weeks with. Don't ever show him this. But until I found Jesse's information, and then I looked at his body of work and what he really stood for. And artistically, that's what I stand for. I want to make films because I want to bridge cultures, and you know, there's a lot of divide, whether it's like socially or politically or culturally. And I think film has the power to really, you know, bridge us. And so I loved what he stood for and what his work stood for. So I reached out to him when we got there, hoping that he would be down. He was, thankfully. And I didn't have that much of a language thing because my film was so bilingual. And my partner was pretty decent. Her English was like pretty good. So I lucked out. But yeah, so I think my biggest challenge was probably trying to do right by what his work stood for. But that's always a challenge. So yeah.
Yeah. One of the challenges, I think, is how did all three of you were able to get into USC monetarily? Was it luck? Was it who you know, or because I don't think you came from rich parents, right?
My mother paid $6 million. She graduated.
Not 15. I don't know. I feel like it's. I think it's honestly like. This sounds so cheesy, but maybe it's fate a little bit, because I think it partly it's luck, because you know, whoever reads your application really connects with you and really vouches for you and really champions you. But I don't know, like that's part of what I think. I think somebody read my application and really believed in what I wanted to do, and so I feel like it's partly luck for sure. Yeah.
Because, well, isn't like in pharmacy school there's too many Asian women, right? And so that would kind of cut out the odds.
Oh, are you saying?
They're trying to get diversity and try to even it out, and
I think so. I think they're getting more. I think there's more awareness to that, which is really good. Because I think these schools that I guess are the ones that you want to get into are really gearing towards diversity, and I think they're really conscious of who they give that opportunity to affect the industry, not just the schools, but like the actual industry. Yeah, so I think that's a good thing.
Questions?
So partners, were they students in China, film students in China also?
Yes.
Did you get to choose them, or are they kind of
Oh, we can explain how that happened. So the 8 of us arrived in Beijing with our professor, and I believe like maybe, I don't know, a couple days after that, or I can't remember the timeline, but we went to the Communication, University of China, met with the students. We had dinner with some of them first, but we didn't know who our partners were going to be. We had dinner. It was a very common thing to do. And so yeah, so once we went to school, we had like a schedule, I can't remember it now, maybe like, did we go every day?
No, it was twice a week.
Twice a week, wow, I can't even remember. Yeah. We watched a lot of Game of Thrones then, so. It's like all muddled together.
That's what I feel
Oh
like
yeah, we lived together.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we like went to school and I think the first 2 weeks the professors were teaching us about documentaries, and then I believe that first week we presented our ideas. We each had to come up with 3 ideas of documentaries that we wanted to make, or just some sort of idea of what we wanted. And from that, I think we each, why am I forgetting? We chose who we wanted on like a piece of paper, we submitted that, and then the professors paired us up according to what we were interested in doing, or if they thought that maybe we would get along and make a good film together. So that's how it happened. Yes, see you in the back.
Oh, you're looking that way. You're facing that way.
Right there.
Compared to other bilingual movies that I've seen, your lettering is much smaller. Was there a reason for that?
Mine specifically, or all 3 of us?
All 3 of you.
It was the subtitles were very small.
Relatively speaking, to other bilingual.
I don't want to speak for you two, but I would say it was an experience, because I've not made a movie before with subtitles, because you work on it on a computer screen, so you don't know what it's going to look like on the big screen on a back row.
Oh. I forgot to mention on another challenge. So at USC we have really awesome labs with computers and huge screens and like desktops, and we're used to editing on those, but we all had to prepare we brought our own laptops and our own hard drives because we weren't really sure what we were going to edit on there, and it turns out that they just didn't really have like the equipment that we're used to. Like the lab was not even ready for us when we got there, and we thought that it was going to be. It was just very different than what we're used to at USC, because like the labs are pretty great. We're a little spoiled there, but when we got there, yeah, it was very difficult. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, about that, because for the record though, they did have brand new computers, but that was the issue, that they were so new that they hadn't installed the software yet that we needed.
We got in the room and the desk
yeah, they were unboxing the computers, and so they asked us, what kind of software do you like editing on? And we asked them like, oh, what do you have here? Do you have, the names? And he said, well, which one do you want? Because I have a whole variety, meaning that we're not completely legal.
It worked out.
It worked out with a little delay. Yeah.
Movies are good.
Yeah. About the film The Gays, I think someone said that, or Lauren, you said that someone didn't let people do a film about gay people. Wait, well, who didn't?
I think it was the faculty or administration.
Like at USC?
At USC.
Actually, yeah, here.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I think it was, well, yes, it was at USC. But
the
Chinese faculty didn't want them to make it. It wasn't the USC faculty.
Or the Chinese faculty, like,
from China.
From China?
Yeah.
Yeah, they come.
Yeah, and so I think they were worried about bringing that movie or film home, because they also have a screening. Like, we had a screening at USC, so when the students come to LA from China, they have a screening back home. So I'm not really clear on what happened exactly, but I just know that one or two of the faculty members were like, no, you can't make that movie.
Maybe about that, what I had heard is that over the years, because this team this last summer wasn't the first ones who wanted to make a movie about that. From what I understood was that over the years there was like a fluent transition into accepting it, meaning years ago it wasn't accepted, like, I'm sorry, no, you're not going to do it, about that. And then more recently I think somebody had either tried to do that or done it, but then the thing was, yeah, you do what you want, but we won't be able to screen it back home. That's what I heard, but I don't know if in that case they had done the film or not. And now this time they did do it.
Yeah.
By the way, Felicia is USC faculty.
Oh, you are?
That's a reveal. Under the radar.
Yeah. Okay, Don. What do you think of the film students in China?
Oh, in general?
Yeah.
Like their education?
Yeah, in view of the heavy censorship and the government is on the country, can they do what they want, or is this about propaganda?
I didn't, I mean, for us it wasn't an issue for us specifically. Talking to other Chinese students, you know, obviously from our own generation, it wasn't, like, they would talk about everything. They would talk about Taiwan and the conflicts with Taiwan, and about history, and about there are certain topics that are sensitive, and they would acknowledge that in a conversation, but they would still talk about it. I can think specifically about, I'm blanking on the name, but when the Tiananmen Square uprising, what do you call it, conflict?
Yeah.
That's something that they did talk about, and I asked them, and they would say, well, we learned this, basically acknowledging that I'm not sure if it's all the truth that we got, but this is what I know. Whereas the old lady that we interviewed would not even go near anything political, and she had on the wall, I don't know if you noticed, she had a lot of pictures, like dozens and dozens, and some of them were pictures of the President Xi Jinping. There was a picture of Xi Jinping with President Obama, and I remember I just asked, oh, you have a picture of the president that you like him? I just asked, and she said, oh, I don't want to talk about it, which to me was interesting, because I have to assume if you have a picture, you might like him, and all you have to do is give me a thumbs up, but like not even going near that. But I think that my hunch was that it was a generational thing as well. I don't know if you had other experiences.
Oh. I mean, I don't know, my experience was very individual based. It felt like many of them had, I couldn't speak of them generally, because I feel like they had all very different political views, and that of course affected the way they worked, or the stories they wanted to tell, and also felt like they could tell, or if some felt like they couldn't tell and that's why they wanted to tell it, you know. But I think even within the 8 that we worked with, they were all very different, depending on where they came from, geographically or familially. So, yeah.
Maybe just kind of follow up on that. You know, dealing with comedy, oftentimes that's a field where people really push the boundaries. And did you feel, or in your interactions with the comedians, was there some sense of control or hesitation, or?
I think I was also really, to answer that, I think I was privy to a lot of bilingual comedians, and I mean like local comedians, Chinese comedians, who are always working with Westerners or Europeans. And so I think because they always work with or exposed to different cultures, I noticed that they did push a lot of boundaries, and they were openly gay, for example, and spoke about that, their relationships, their hardships, and used, comedy to express that, very openly.
Including political, monetary?
Actually, now if I think about it, I think politically it was a little less, I'd say. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, if the people have to submit what they're going to perform, who are they actually submitting it to? Is it a government board, or is
I think it's
self-censored among the other, or?
No, it's definitely a government filter, for sure.
But not our project.
But not our project.
It's just the faculty then.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
But they have some sense of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Chinese faculty, they do have some sense of. So basically, our topics were.
No, I mean, you said with the.
Just the comedian.
When you went into it itself and the improv, you said that it wasn't actually an improv, that it was submitted first, and I was wondering who it was submitted to. Was it government, or was it the other, or was it?
So with improv, they don't perform because they couldn't submit it to anybody because it's improv. Like, it's just not scripted. Yeah. So when they do perform improv, it's more just like kind of like this, where they would perform in a hutang or like a private club, not necessarily televised, and they do submit, if they do want to perform scripted stand-up or sketches or things like that, they would have to submit to a government official, yeah. That's my understanding. Okay.
On the Zhongshan area that you visited, who lives there now? Because I went last summer. I went to Guangdong. Part of Guangdong, the villages are empty. What is it like in Zhongshan?
I didn't really ask who lived there. I don't know if I noticed that it was like empty.
Well, was it a village, or was it?
Yeah, it was a village. Yeah, it was a village.
Because a lot of the villages that the overseas Chinese came from, they're vacant.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't notice that there was vacancy there.
So you went to there. So there were family members greeted you.
Right.
And escorted you to the cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably why I didn't notice my surroundings, because I just had my family show us whatever they wanted to show us. They kind of planned out everything. So I didn't even really... we walked around the village, and the cemetery was kind of like right behind where they lived. So we didn't really go too far.
And the buildings look well kept.
Yeah, the buildings were well kept.
How did your family there feel about being filmed, or how did you let them know? I don't know if that was really planned or.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing, filming. I guess my family, because I couldn't really communicate with them, but I just asked my partner to translate everything, and so of course, and my aunt also from San Francisco. I asked her first to connect with my aunt who's in Guangzhou, and she asked her if we could film. And my aunt just said, yeah, but it was never really like a written down, like I didn't have them sign any paperwork or anything.
So. I'm glad you remembered the cookies.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you think they acted differently, possibly compared to if they weren't filmed, or like were they certain things forced, or?
That's a really good question. Because it's like how do you know how anyone's going to act if you are not filming them versus when you do film them? So even when I knew that I was being filmed. And so I knew I needed to, not act, but just like be a little bit different than how I would normally, I guess. Like I had to be aware of where the camera was at all times, and I had to make sure that I got everything that I wanted to, in terms of like, you know, I would tell my partner Phoebe to like, get that or get that, but she was pretty good about it. So I think just for documentaries in general though, it's like, how do you film something and like your subject, they already know they're being filmed, so like, I don't know how to explain that.
That's the forever struggle.
Yeah, it's a struggle.
It's the forever struggle.
Yeah. Do you guys want to speak about that?
I think it was kind of a sad, the Chinese gay person, it's kind of sad for him to have to wait if it was even going to happen, you know what I mean? And this other man had a child already too.
It was a really sad story when we found out about it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Your aunt lived in Guangzhou, which is the big city. So did she live in like a smaller neighborhood or a village outside, or was it within the big city?
I think it was within the big city. So I think if you were talking about maybe the smaller villages, yeah, we did not go there. I think I was getting a little confused, but yeah.
Because a lot of us are from what they call Yongha, which is the countryside. And those villages are
we didn't go there.
abandoned.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. We did not go there.
Your village or city, you know, it was prosperous and they were thriving.
Right, yeah. And they were very close to like the big city, or like within it. So, yeah.
And that's so typical. When they go into a home, like when our families went back to China, I mean, you would see all our old Christmas pictures all taped up on the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, just all of them. They're just, it was really something else.
Yeah.
They held on to that.
Yeah.
You know, they held on to that in their heart.
This is for Lauren. Did your mother explain why she didn't talk about your family? Like it sounded like you even had family that you didn't really know in San Francisco. Like, did she explain why?
Yeah, she just, I guess she's really close with her sisters, and that's kind of it. I guess that's just her choice though. I mean, I've heard about this family that we had in San Francisco. I've seen photos of them. My mom and her sisters have gone to their weddings and whatnot and baby showers, but I was never really invited. I don't know, it was weird. Like, just like, you know, yeah, it must have been a generational thing. I don't know.
Cost money.
That too. But my aunt was she's connected with everybody, so I think it's just a choice that she made. Yeah. But I think from making this film, like she said in the end, she felt a little bit more connected. So that was kind of my goal throughout the whole thing, was to hopefully even to bring her back there. But that's also like a money issue. Like without the school and without student loans, I would not have gone to China the way that I did, with the translator and with the partner and like gone with my friends. So yeah, that's
Does that mean that there's no sequel to any of these films?
I think I would probably make one if I brought my mom. Probably not.
No sequel. It works.
Any other questions?
Somebody
raise their hand.
In all your tours, do you have government monitor attached to you so you can ask any questions?
Yeah, I mean, again, we didn't touch on anything sensitive, so I don't know what the process will be. Let's say if I wanted, again, make a documentary about the Tiananmen Square protest, and I start going down the street and asking random people, hi, we're making a documentary about this, would you like to answer some questions? I think pretty soon somebody would show up, but that's me speculating, I don't know. But other than that, no, we were not monitored. we were always on our own with the camera and with our partners, not with faculty, and most of us were out in the street and with the camera and just pointing it at whatever we wanted. The only issue we had is when we filmed the kids coming from school, because I mean it's a bunch of kids that don't know and are not part of the documentary. Understandably, they said, "Oh, please don't stop filming the kids." That's the only thing.
Any other questions? Yes?
One last one. If the people you were interviewing, if they sensed that you were not Chinese or you were part Chinese, do you think the response would have been different, or their acceptance of your interrogatories would make a difference?
Actually, my subject said something really interesting. He and I were just having lunch, and I'm Korean, and he told me if I actually learned Mandarin and came to work in China, they would accept me more than they would accept him. Even if his Mandarin is great. My Mandarin, let's say I learned it to like a first grade level or even like a kindergarten level, he said I would probably be more accepted and get more work, or it would open just because of the way I look. So I found that very interesting. Yeah.
You know, and on that, it seemed like there was quite a bit of diversity out in the streets that I could see.
In Beijing, for sure.
In Beijing,
yeah.
Right. You know, whether it's in the nightclub or you know, wherever it be.
We went to.
I didn't go.
You didn't go. Yeah, that's right. The nightclub is a really interesting place to go to. Yeah. Anyways, okay. What was your question?
How much of each of your individual film, the total footage, ended up on what we saw? Oh man.
That's just your answer.
I'd have to do some math, but let's say we shot what, 4 weekends?
5, 6.
5?
Yeah.
Only 7.
You can shoot whatever
Anyway,
you want to do.
anywhere between, let's say, 4 to 6 weekends, let's say 2 days. Most of the times you don't film 2 days. You just or sometimes you can't film both days. It depends on the availability of your subjects. So I would say for us it was probably
10%?
less than 12 hours of footage, and the film is 15-minute long, or 12. I think that's pretty normal. I think you guys shot a lot. Yeah.
They have that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we just didn't stop shooting. I think we probably had like 12 hours or something like that. But honestly, that's not. I once did a doc with like, we ended up with 25 minutes and we had footage. We had maybe like 40 hours of footage. So I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's just what you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one team, you didn't see it today, but one team made a documentary about a sports team, a football team in Beijing, and they went to every game, every practice, and decided to film it with 2-3 cameras. So every time you're filming, you're doubling or tripling your amount of footage, which is insane to go through afterwards to try and cut something together. So it varies. It varies a lot. And we work with 1.
Sometimes 2, but usually 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on like how many cameras you have. That's a good point that you made. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. What's your question? Yes.
Are you all M.F.A. students?
Yes.
So you have to do a thesis project, which is what your film is about.
These aren't our thesis.
These are not our thesis, no.
Oh.
There's different ways to graduate. So you can produce a thesis, direct, you can write your way out. So there's edit, sound, any of the tracks.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to explain how you graduated?
Well, I wrote a feature because making a thesis costs like 20 grand. And if I write a feature, it's for free. So that's what I did.
Why does it cost? Wait, what did you say?
Because you have to fund your own thesis film. So if
$1 grand?
well, I mean that's
Not
like the
even-
average, you know.
Just like
average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a rich person's thing.
Well,
for sure.
that's why I
Or
wrote.
would find
Typing is free, so.
That's too bad. They don't give funding. They don't have venues for.
I mean, you can
grants.
you can do crowdfunding. I mean, I've produced a couple of thesis films. I did not use them to graduate, even though I could have. But like one of them was like $50,000, the other one was like 25, it was 35. It was an 85. Oh no.
Well, yeah, dead.
Yeah, but like a lot, like the ones that I produced, I don't know how they got the money, but either from loans, they didn't really specify to us. It's usually from the director. They will find the money, however, or they will crowdfund.
That's on top of tuition.
On top of our tuition, which is like, what, $60,000 a year?
Something.
Yeah, it's really expensive. Do you want to explain how you graduate?
No, I mean, I worked on somebody else's thesis film. I did post-production sound. But I just wanted to say, I actually, because I graduated by now, maybe you guys want to talk about that too. But for me, the class in China was actually the very last class I took at USC. I mean, it was a cooperation between USC and the school in Beijing, and you too. And it was actually the reason why I didn't walk at USC, because the plane was going. We had to fly. It was 3 days or so before before walking, and I wasn't gonna miss out on that. So this was basically my last class, my M.F.A. So it wasn't my thesis, but it was my last one.
Yeah, me too.
That's so cool. I just had my last class on Thursday and we watched Avengers Endgame. It was super cool. We had like the casting director, VFX supervisor, and producer come in. And then the way that I produced my way out, so I just made my own, it started out as a reality TV show and then it became a YouTube channel, so nobody really does that. I just kind of decided to do that on my own, but you can pretty much do whatever your heart desires to graduate, in terms of film.
Well, all good things must come to an end. I can have to say that I really enjoyed learning. This has been informative, insightful, and it can be touched on in a lot of different areas. You guys, I wish you, Christina, Lauren, Santiago, the best. These are our future. So anyway, let's give them all a hand. Thank you for dealing with our primitive projection systems here. But actually, I knew we were probably going to have problems, and so I asked Lauren to bring equipment from USC. And so I have to say the images were great, on the screen, so it was really nice. But we were going to have to solve our own audio problem. But anyway, I think we all had a great time, and thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anyway, thank you.